Hello, Yakri here with another Warframe video. So I meant to make this video months ago and it was much more relevant, but I'm doing it now anyway because I kind of feel like making a video. And we're going to talk about Saryn and her after her rework. The reason I've decided to make this video now is that in spite of the fact that it's months later, a lot of people seem to have some kind of crazy opinions about what's actually good for Saryn. Two pretty common ones are that A, she isn't a one-button frame, which kind of annoys me because this is what I'm annoyed with about her rework, is that she kind of stayed a one-button frame from what she was before, which was kind of a one-button frame. And they didn't actually kind of fix the issue that they set out to fix. That happens a lot with these reworks DE has been doing lately, but that's a whole different thing. I'm actually here to show you how to kick ass in high level missions with Saryn. Then that brings me to my other thing that annoys me, which is all these videos, many of which are quite popular, which tell you about how great Saryn is in very high tier missions, and then show you a build that's pretty bad in high tier missions. The commonly popular one is to actually just use her abilities normally, and you'll supposedly kick ass against level 80, level 100 enemies, and quite frankly, you're wasting her potential. If you just build her for power, strength, and range, and activate her spores and go around killing enemies normally in a mission where you're fighting level 80, level 100 enemies, you are sort of a waste of a squad space. You could be playing Nova and be far more effective. But fear not, there is actually something you can do. Before that, I'm going to show you how Saryn fares against low-level enemies. This is kind of the thing that was popular for a while, right? So, Saryn's spores are her really big, important, powerful ability. Her other abilities aren't that great. Regenerative Molt is nice versus low-level enemies, but other than that, her abilities are kind of bad. Her ultimate, well, here, watch this first. So, this is the nice little combo that the Hiku Prime has with Saryn. And so, looks pretty great already, right? I just cleared out a bunch of level 40 bombards. The thing is that with 250% power range or so, I think that's what it maxes out at, right? Well, the power range I have here, the spore burst radius, or 235%, excuse me. Spore burst radius is pretty enormous. 37 meters is quite long range as far as Warframe abilities go, and you'll easily clear out like half a map with that. And spores just spread so well, you'll probably get anything you don't kill with viral procs. It's great. But it falls off really quickly. If I do this against level 100 enemies, you're going to see it doing absolutely pathetic damage against them. It also burns out the duration of your spores with how the spore mechanic works. So it's not going to be very effective against level even 50 or 60 enemies and higher. But there is something else you can do that a lot of people don't seem to recommend. I actually had no idea about it either until I got into an argument with some clanmates about Saryn's effectiveness, and they mentioned this, and part of the reason it gets ignored is because when she came out, this was bugged and you couldn't do this. It was patched a week or two later. I don't want to say 2 weeks, 3 weeks later. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna spore these guys up. Hopefully this will work, because I don't have like 100% proc chance. There we go. Well, level 105 bombards just instantly killed. This guy, for whatever reason, this guy did not take as much damage as everyone else. He probably wasn't actually in the gas clouds, right? So maybe that's more of the amount of damage that 30% or so he took is that you're actually going to spread. But you're going to be dealing like 30% to half health to level 100 enemies off of one single spore spread. You're going to cover about 37 meter radius. There aren't a lot of Warframes that can do that level of damage while also providing a double damage buff, which, for anyone who still doesn't know, viral is a double damage buff. It is functionally identical to Nova's ultimate, except that it of course stacks with Nova's ultimate, and you can get it from weapons. It's a little less valuable, but it works the same way for all other intents and purposes. Technically, it's a little bit of a different mechanic, but the only thing it matters for is maybe Equinox. If you, I haven't actually tested this, but it's possible at least that if you kill a viral proc enemy, Equinox won't get as much damage into his whatever ult. So yeah, I think that's actually pretty much the whole point of the video. Saryn's 1 is the way to go. Toxic Lash is not that useful in general. It can be good for kind of a fun, lazy way to play Saryn in lower level missions, or missions where you just don't care, or where you plan to be going all melee anyway. With Naramon, you can be pretty much invincible as any frame, and you can just kind of plow through enemies, slashing them. You could also do something kind of similar to what I did with the Lanka, using a high status chance melee weapon that deals high damage per hit, and you've modded it out for gas or toxic. Incidentally, you may have noticed I have the Lanka. Let me show you my Lanka build really quick here, although I probably want to stick like 1 or 2 more Forma in it, but this is what I've got for the Lanka. I have gas built because gas gives a toxin proc, right, in an AoE. And the reason it's actually gas and not just toxin is because I can't fit as many status increasing mods that also increase damage on the weapon unless I do it with gas. So it's got the combination of high single hit damage and a toxin proc that I need. And that can be the case with a lot of them. So anyway, the point is you could do the same thing in melee. Unless you like Toxin proc mod Fragger Prime or something, it's probably going to be less effective in melee, even with the bonus damage that you get that's in Toxin from Toxic Lash, but that can kind of be a thing. It's just that versus high-level enemies, melee becomes non-viable eventually. You need to hide behind some kind of protection because you're going to be instantly killed. Even as Saryn Prime, even when you're invincible, all that has to happen is for you to be uninvisible for a second, and you get hit by a bombard shot and you're done. Whereas with a weapon like the Lanka or a variety of other high single hit damage status weapons, you can do it at extreme ranges. Probably the only use for sniper rifles, and yeah, it's great. Her ult is just bad, quite frankly. It takes too long to deal decent damage. Its damage isn't that decent. I mean, the actual numbers you can get are really huge, but it takes such a long time to kill them that by the time the enemies will stay alive long enough for the full damage amount to go through, it's not going to be a significant amount of damage. So, and Molt is actually pretty cool. It would have to be for sure her second best ability because of regenerative Molt. The thing is that later on, as you get into higher levels, it becomes totally useless. Like it will instantly die. You will get the toxin damage out of it, but the toxin damage is too weak for Molt. It's far too weak. You need the toxin damage from a weapon to spread with your spores to deal really good damage. Incidentally, the example of level 40 bombards that probably could have killed things up a little bit higher with adding the toxin proc from Molt. But again, weapons, much better. Yeah, that about covers everything. Point is, you swap spores on people and shoot them with a gun and spread that around everywhere. Kind of makes Saryn the ultimate sniper frame? Probably someone will find a way to, or I'm sure someone else knows of a way to do this a little better with a automatic weapon, or you could probably do it with the Tonkor too, or, you know, you could toxic mod the Sancti Tigress. I mean, a lot of these don't have great status chance, but you don't necessarily need awesome status chance. Singular would be another good one. Torrid would probably be good for getting that proc in there. Just anything where you can get a big fat toxin proc to spread across a lot of enemies. You know, you really need to have like a big crit, and you need to have like several thousand damage per tick toxin proc, and then spread it to the entire map, and suddenly you're a great DPS frame. So that's the whole point. To reiterate in my conclusion, Saryn is good versus high-level enemies. She's not good by using most of her kit. It's just her spores that are really good, and you can capitalize on that by using a toxin proc weapon that gives you a really high toxin proc. And she's good versus low-level enemies in different ways, usually with that Hiku Prime build. But it's kind of bad against high-level enemies to just constantly respread it because it reduces the duration. What am I forgetting here? And I'm still salty that she became a different one-button frame, although it is actually more fun than jamming 4 all the time to jam 1 all the time, just because I love seeing all those tiny numbers just spread across the map. I mean, you know, Horrible AIDS frame is kind of cooler than instantly disintegrating everything frame, if you know what I mean, especially since Equinox does that better anyway. Alright, that's all. Thank you.